These are our customary conversion notes. So the customary system is how we measure in America. So these words should be familiar. We're just kind of going to figure out how to convert between one and the other. So when we're talking about these length measurements, okay, example, we would use length when we're talking about area or if we're measuring a room or really anything where we're just trying to find the distance from one end to the other. Your volume and capacity measurements are often used in cooking. And then weight and mass is pretty self-explanatory. We use that to find the weight of items. All right, so anything with the conversions, we are going to use our star chart. So this right here is the exact pictures, or I guess conversions, off your star chart. Whenever you are converting between measurements, your job is to reference your star chart because the answer is there. You just have to figure out how to use the numbers to find the answer. So how we're going to use it today. You're going to look at the two units given and see if there is a conversion rate on your star chart. So what I mean by that is you're going to look and see if there's this like direct relationship. So right here, it tells you 1 mile is 1,760 yards. So it's right there for you. You're just going to have to scale up or scale down to find a missing value. So if it's there, you're going to set up those proportions and solve. Since we're solving proportions, those are equivalent ratios. That means you are only allowed to multiply or divide when solving these problems. Okay, and so that reminder, whatever we do to the bottom, we must do to the top. That's how they stay equivalent. If there is not a conversion rate between the two listed on your star chart, you're going to start with the unit given and then stair step your way up until you get to the unit you need. In other words, this is going to create a multi-step problem. So if there's not a direct relationship on your star chart, you're going to have to do 2 or 3 steps. So let's look at some practice and see what we can figure out. So our first example right here, we have 5 gallons to quarts. So I'm going to use the highlighter tool to kind of help us stay organized. We're going 5 gallons to quarts. So up here, it already has gallons to quarts. So because we're talking about ratios and rates, we're just going to keep that order the same. So we have 1 gallon equaling 4 quarts. So gallons over gallons, quarts over quarts. So to turn a 1 into a 4, we're getting bigger. So we're going to multiply. More specifically, we're going to multiply by 4. Whatever we do to the bottom, we do to the top. And 5 times 4 means there would be 20 quarts in this example. Okay. Problem number 2, same thing. I'm going to use Okay, for our second problem, we're turning miles into feet. So again, I'm going to use the highlighter tool just to kind of help us stay organized. So here we're turning 2 miles into feet. If we look up at our star chart, though, it tells us that 1 mile is 1,760 yards. But we don't want yards. We want the feet that are below it. So this is where we're going to use that stair-step method. We have to move the 3 feet up to be turned into miles. And to do that, we're just going to multiply these two numbers. So we have 1,760 times 3, 0, 18, 21, 22, 5. So 1,760 times 3 is 5,280. So what that means is 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. Because again, we're trying to turn our miles into feet. From here, we want to turn a 1 into 5,280. So we're getting bigger. So we're going to multiply. Whatever we do to the bottom, we do to the top. So 5,280 times 2 is 10,560 feet. For our third problem, we are trying to turn ounces into pounds. So that's going to be over here on the weight side. And that conversion is listed for us. So it's a one-step problem. So we're just going to keep our order consistent. So we have 16 ounces equals 1 pound. This time, we are taking a small unit and turning it into a big unit. In other words, we're going from a bigger number to a smaller number, so we have to divide by 16. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So 72 divided by 16, it's going to equal 4.5. So you can see that math worked out. 16 can't go into 7, but it can go into 72 4 times. And 16 times 4 is 64. And that leaves us with an 8, but we can't have remainders, so you put a decimal and a 0. And 16 times 5 is 80. So that's where that number comes from. Next example. We are turning yards into feet. So up here on our star chart, this relationship is given to us. So that means it's a one-step problem. So lining up the words, we have 1 yard equals 3 feet. To turn a 1 into a 3, we're going to multiply by 3. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So that's going to make 12 feet. Okay. Next problem, we have 78 cups to quarts. So we're going to go up here. We have 78 cups and quarts. So these are not in the same line. So we have quarts right here and cups down here. So this is where we have to use our stair stepping. So we want to move the cups up into the same row as the quarts. So we're going to multiply these two numbers. So 2 times 2 is 4. That means there are 4 cups and 1 quart. From here, we're turning a 4 into a 1, so we're getting smaller, so we have to divide by 4. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So 78 divided by 4 is 3. I don't know why that froze. Bring down our 8. 4 times 9 is 36. We're left with a 2, but we can't have remainders, so we're going to put our decimal 0. We get an answer of 19.5 quarts. And then our last one, we are trying to turn pints. Oh, nope. No. Go away. Our last one, we're trying to turn pints into quarts. So if we go up to our star chart one more time, we want pints and quarts and look at them right there in the same row. There are 2 pints and 1 quart. So 2 pints equal 1 quart. Going from big to small, so I'm dividing by 2. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top, to get an answer of 3. So some reminders when you're setting up the proportion, the units should match. So in each of my problems, you can see the unit on the top matches the unit below. If the relationship is not directly listed on your star chart, you're going to have to do that extra step of moving a number up. So you're going to have to multiply before you do whatever operation you need to actually solve the proportion. On the back, oh, just kidding, there's more at the bottom. Down here, it says when converting from a big unit to a small unit. So, for example, right here, yards are bigger than feet. And then gallons are bigger than quarts. So big unit to small unit, we're going to multiply. And when we're going from a small unit to a big unit, we're going to divide. Now on to the back. So we got some word problems. So this time they didn't give us any starting ratio, so we're going to have to write that and solve the proportion. So Manny recently planted a garden. The garden is 4 feet long and 4 feet wide. What is the length in inches? So we're talking about just the length. So that's going to be this 5 right here. So we have 5 feet. We want to turn it into inches. So up on your star chart, it tells you 1 foot is 12 inches. So if I want to turn a 1 into a 12, I'm getting bigger, so I'm going to multiply by 12. Whatever I do at the bottom, I do the top. And 5 times 12 is 60 inches. Problem 2, Cammie's fitness trainer recommends that she drinks 96 fluid ounces of water each day. And then how many pints is that? So our starting ratio is 96 fluid ounces equals blank pints. So this is one of those 2-step ones. So I'm going to go up here to your star chart. So we want to turn fluid ounces into pints. So we have to multiply right there. 8 times 2 is 16. So that means there are 16 fluid ounces in 1 pint. We are getting smaller, so we have to divide by 16. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. And 96 divided by 16 gives us 6 pints. Example 3. Jose made 256 cups of lemonade to sell his lemonade stand, and we want to know how many pints that is. So we have 256 cups equals pints. Your star chart tells you there are 2 cups in 1 pint. So we are dividing by 2. And whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. And 256 divided by 2 is 128 pints. That's a lot of lemonade. All right, question 4. Amber's baby boy weighs 8 pounds. We want to know his weight in ounces. So we have 8 pounds, and we're trying to convert to ounces. Your star chart tells you that 1 pound is 16 ounces. So we're getting bigger. So we're going to multiply. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. And 16 times 8 equals 128 ounces. So again, you need to label and you need to make sure that the units line up. From here, my advice would be for you to try these last 6 practice questions. So I'm going to talk through them, but it might be best to pause and see what you can do and then come back. So number 1 is 82 cups equals blank quarts. So up on your star chart, cups and quarts are not aligned, but there are 4 cups in a quart. So 4 cups equals 1 quart. I'm getting to a smaller number, so I need to divide by 4. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. And 82 divided by 4 equals 20.5. Next one is ounces to pounds. So there are 16 ounces in 1 pound. We're getting smaller, so we're going to divide. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. And 80 divided by 16 equals 5 pounds. Next one is miles to yard. So 1 mile is 1,760 yards. That would be multiplying by 1,760. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So 1,760 times 6 equals 10,560. Down here, 15 gallons to quarts. 1 gallon is made up of 4 quarts. So we need to multiply by 4. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. And 15 times 4 is 60. And then 1 ton is 2,000 pounds. So we have to multiply by 2,000. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So that gives you 14,000 pounds. And last but not least, we have 12 inches in 1 foot. We're getting smaller, so we're going to divide by 12. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So 168 divided by 12 is 14. So again, when it comes to your conversions, your job is to read your star chart, find the relationship, and then make sure that you line up similar units in the same column so that you know if you should multiply or divide to find those missing numbers.